What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Grill, Build, and Chill. My name is Corey, and today we're doing part 2 of our wiring and electrical accessory install. We're gonna see if we can't get this thing started up and get our decking and seating finished so we can get this thing back out onto the water. Let's get into it.
So in the spirit of budget, I've gone ahead and cut apart our daisy chain of connectors here. This is all for the power in on our switches. I'm gonna get some red and we're just gonna do all red to all power everything, and we'll just leave it at that. Well, there's my mess of stuffs. So now we can get this installed back into the bench seat there, and we'll start trimming and running into the fuse block. Each one of these will be a different length, so I'll just trim it down and then install my little butt connector there, or fork connector, which will go up under each screw. You can see there, we'll be good to go. So we'll just continue wiring in like this. Sorry, but this is a boring part, well, to watch anyway. Almost looks like I'm an accomplished electrician. Ha. I do like to play around with 12 volt quite a bit. I've done a lot of automotive stuff and things like that, so this isn't out of my comfort zone or anything. I've got my negatives ready to go. I did run a negative into the appropriate place on the motor, and everything is cut long, so when I put the battery in the battery box in here, we'll get it cut to length. I did the same thing with everything going on the fuse block. I made everything long and then cut them to short, which I don't know if you could catch that while you were watching the time lapse, but that's what was happening. It's really what took the most time, on top of crimping new ends on and all that good stuff. So this is all set up, looking good. I've got the battery on off switch wired in, it's looking fresh. So I know it's probably a little hard to see stuff right now, but that all came out really clean. This is super easy to get to. I was thinking about having it the other way inside, and it'd probably be a little more difficult to deal with. Oh man, we're looking good. So now what it comes down to is getting accessories in and getting those wired into the fuse block and figuring out the right fuses to put into it. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to contact me. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. I'm not the only guy out here doing this, but if you ever order a switch panel that's bust together like that, you got to remember that each switch you run out is going to draw power. So if you've got a light bar that, you know, it's rated at a really high amperage versus just, you know, auxiliary plug-in, if something pulls too much power along a 6 switch rail, it's just going to blow it every single time. So and you're not going to know what's causing the issue. At least this way, every single thing is isolated, every switch is isolated. So, you know, if something pops a fuse, you either have an issue with your wiring or you didn't use the appropriate size fuse. So let's go ahead and start getting some of these accessories in here. I think we might even get to doing the front deck tonight so I can wire in the light bar and the navigation lights. Now, at the very least, we'll run the wires up there tonight and we'll get everything else run too. We're going to definitely install the cool little LED light strips inside the boat and hopefully on the outside too. We'll see how all that goes. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do are the courtesy lights inside the boat. Just kind of want to get a feel for this because I got the same thing to go along the outside of the boat, and I kind of have a feeling it might not stick as well as I want it to. So I know it'll do fine inside the boat, but on the outside it'll be getting hit with a lot of water, which it's a really cool little feature to have, but maybe I shouldn't do it just yet on the outside. So we'll start with this. Then I think we'll do the bilge pump because we got to drill a hole in the side of the boat. Then we'll focus on the front of the boat with the front navigation light and the light bar. But I guess I could also install the anchor light back here too. So we'll do this, we'll do the anchor light, we'll do the bilge pump, then we'll move to the front. We'll take a look at all the wiring and stuff I need for the navigation lights and the light bar. And I don't think it came with very much wire, so we'll run wire up to it. Then we'll look at installing the front deck and then installing the lights and completing the wiring under the front deck. So let's get this out there, huh? Now, as much as I don't want to, I'm going to drill a hole in the side of my boat. I'm just hoping if this thing fails, because it's a cheap knockoff, there's going to be something I can do about making it work later on. and that this with no rubber grommet or freaking anything won't let any water in. It might get some silicone. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Silicone. Let's. Light is on. Bilge pump's glued in, it's drying. Everything's hooked up back here. Mid shaft is clear. Wires are all ran. And this guy's looking good. I know it's kind of hard to see that. I'll pull this back out so you guys can get a better look at what's going on in there, but I'm ready to give this thing a go. So I'm gonna wait for my camera lady to get here, and we'll see if I know what I'm doing, because your boy ain't tried none of this yet, and I'm gonna film the first go. I don't know what that was. I'm gonna film the first go with this thing when I get a second hand here to help me out. I'm confident. Yeah, I'm confident. All right, so the camera lady's home, and we're ready to give this thing a shot for the first time. I haven't tried it yet. I'm confident. Hopefully you guys are too, but let's find out if she even kicks on. So once I flip the switch, the whole switch panel should light up. And if it doesn't, then I screwed something up. So let's see. Hey, that's a good sign. I think my little voltage reader's broken. Yeah, it is. I'll have to get another one of those. Luckily, they're not too expensive. That's not a bad readout, 12.4. Yeah, okay, well, let's see. This should be the bilge pump. Yep. That works. The next should be our rear navigation light. Or our anchor light. That guy works. That's cool. The next in line would be our forward navigation lights, but they're not installed yet. Then this should be our first set of party lights. Oh, no.
No?
Uh-oh. Okay, well, 2 of 3 installed's not bad, I guess, but that should have kicked on. So I wonder what the deal with that is. Does the motor turn over? Yes, the motor turns over, so that's really the most important thing. Well, shoot. That should have started up I really wanted to see our cabin lights figured out. I don't know if the fuse is working or what, so I'm gonna figure that out and I'll be back with you guys. Alright, so as it would have it, it's pretty important to put a fuse in if you want something to work. I missed that fuse. And it lit up on the fuse block, and that told me, hey, you're missing something. So.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. That's pretty cool. Now, they give you a remote with this, and you can hook it up to your phone. I don't know how I feel about that, though, because it's from China. And that the app and everything says, let me listen to your mic. I'll probably just hang out with this phone, right? Or this remote. What'd you say, babe?
I don't know about Mike.
Oh. Yeah. So you can change the colors and everything. It's got modes, it's got speeds, it's got music, times. And most of the guys run with this green. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm gonna shut the lights off and we'll see how this looks without the lights. All right, so I cut all the other lights off in the shop. We'll see what this looks like completely blacked out. Wow. That's pretty cool. I like that. So you're not going to be able to see a lot of this when you're running the boat at night, which is great. It won't be like blinding or anything like that. And honestly, these lights aren't that bright. So it's kind of like the perfect night glow, no big deal. But I don't know about the other colors. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Orange, blue. Now white was kind of the big one that I wanted. Not only did I want something that looked cool, but I wanted something functional. So if I needed to search for something or work on something or anything like that, not only do I have the cockpit lit up, under the seat is lit up. Babe, if you'll come pan over here. If I ever had to do something and try to work on anything under the seat, it's lit up and I could. Similarly, anything in the engine compartment, if I needed to take a look at something, it's going to be lit up. Hopefully that never happens, but that'll work out well. So, the anchor light, I think too, gives off quite a bit of light. Everything I got is LEDs, which I love that all the LEDs are cheap now. So that's great. That'll give off quite a bit of light if you're out playing around at night. Oh. Yeah, that's really cool. That's gonna work out really well. Well, that'll do it for me tonight. But we're gonna finish this deck up tomorrow. And we'll get the other deck in too. So I'll see you guys there. We are looking good here, folks. Got a lot of different things going on. Most of it's going well. Some of it's not. The trigger for my throttle broke. I don't know when, I don't know how. I didn't feel it happen. Maybe it got stepped on or dropped. I really don't know. But I've been trying to figure that one out, so we'll get that guy replaced. Now this here, got some good stuff going on there. The whole switchboard, it's looking good, and I considered hiding the battery on-off switch inside, but that really didn't make sense because it's a bunch of extra work to flip the bench up and all that when you could just get to it. Boom, right there. Plenty of space. So I'm not doing any kind of stereo through the front anymore. I'm just gonna get a sound bar, but the right one I'll just stick under the front deck here. So the next thing will be to get the front deck on so I can install the light bar and the nav light. And this will be pretty much ready, minus the bench seat and the back decking. I tried to use some sealant adhesive back here, like marine grade stuff, and it takes sometimes 90 hours to dry. And I wasn't willing to wait that long, so I pulled that back out, cleaned it up, then I used epoxy to adhere that to the base of the boat. And it's 5-minute fast drying epoxy, so it's probably okay now. But I'm gonna give that some more time. I'm gonna focus on everything else up here, get this decking in, get that all wired up, and I'll make sure everything's good to go before I'm like, okay, it's ready. But then I'll install our hose line back here. And this thing, it's got the same silicone stuff. I made a mess. It's just what I do. But when this all dries, I'll go ahead and camo it out. I'll tape everything off over here and camo that out so it's not just this white eyesore on the side of our boat here. Tanks are in. I did start it up. Everything works well. It pulls fuel from both sides because I do have fuel on this side now. Our caps work good. I still don't know if I want to add a fuel selector switch in there. Maybe I will. But for now, it's doing the thing. I just think if you're going to have both the tanks connected, you probably need to have fuel on both sides. Because I think if one was empty, wouldn't it be trying to pull air in from this tank? So, I don't know. I'm gonna have to run it. I need to fill both of them up and just run it and see if the levels both drop together or if it tries to pull from one or the other. I don't know. We're in experimental areas here. Overall, we're in good shape. So I'm gonna get this sorted out and then we'll get this decking going on up here. So we're back in business. Got one off the parts ski. Thank God that works. I can't imagine what that costs. I don't want to look it up. Anyway, let's get this front deck done. I'm gonna slam this thing in here and then I'm gonna trace the bottom to get wherever we need to be drilling holes for our rivets because when we go to install this, I'm gonna lay down silicone, squish that in there, so that's going to eliminate our sound and vibration. It's also going to seal some stuff up. I will be going along the outside and sealing everything once both decks are in, but then that'll allow us to go ahead and start doing our rivets with the silicone and all that. So I want to mark all of our framing first, that way I can drill holes and it'll just make the whole process quicker. Let's get that done. So the idea here is we'll get this guy lined up and clamp down. Then I'm going to go up underneath and scribe it.
enjoy me trying to get out of here. Oh, God.
All right, well that gives me confidence. The back will be just as good. Now let's get some lights up in here. So I'm thinking it'll be something like that. Light bar will be up just a little bit more. I could have got some LEDs to go on the front of this. Maybe I will get the LEDs to go on the front of that, so this thing sits as far up front as possible. I mean, not that it matters really. So I just know if I put it as close to the front as I can, get a little bit better of an angle as far as where it's going to point, because you can rotate it on the mounts. The mount will be like this, so something to think about. And it comes with this sweet harness that's pretty much already wired up and ready to go. Inline fuse, which we won't need. Even comes with a switch. Oh, that's fancy. Pre-wired, ground, neutral, positive. Yeah. Nice little relay. Well, so I bet that switch lights up too. So more than likely the white on this probably eliminates the switch. Then the red is for the light itself. So we don't really need to worry about the white, which I guess is probably coming from here also. So we'll just eliminate the white, but we'll use most of this. And we already have wire run for our old navigation light. So it's hanging out there just waiting. So well, you know, sometimes I think I just hate myself. The light bar wiring harness came pre-installed with its own connectors. And they gave me a little baggie of the ones to install in the light. And of course the ones I just put on, the end of the light, were from my stock. And they were the opposite sex. So, dang it. I guess that means I've got plenty of extra wire here. I'm just gonna strip this back and probably snipper about right here. And then I'll save these guys to use sometime later. Just have to do an extra set of connectors. Yeah, cool. So, as it would turn out, this is in fact a two-person job, which I've enlisted the help of Miss Shannon. And she's gonna hold the screwdriver while I go back up under here and do some more spelunking. Yeah. Turns out I might be a little too big for this.
Maybe I'll come down there?
Ah, it's okay. All right, well, now that I got some color coming back to my face, take a look at what we got wrapped up down there. So I installed some wire retainers up there, and eventually I'll do one way down there, but as you can see, it gets pretty tight. Can't really get a drill bit in it. So for now, that's good. And got her nicely zip tied over here. So we'll finish installing this light, and then we'll get this fuse block wrapped up, and that should do it for our power for now. Which means it's time for installing the rear deck and then the bench seats, and man, this boat is done, baby. Yeah. Alright, so what I've been doing here is going through the harness that came with our light bar. So they give you everything. They give you a switch that lights up, then they give you an inline relay, and they also give you an inline fuse. So what I'm going to do is just leave the inline fuse, wire that into my fuse block with another 15 because that's what it's calling for. Wire that into my ground. And then what I've done is cut out the switch. So my red and white are the power in and power out. Then of course you just got a ground. And they just daisy chained that into the relay harness. So what I'll do is I'll eliminate that second ground, and then I will connect, just jump my red and white. That would be going out to the switch like that. That way we're giving power to the relay, which I don't know exactly what kind of relay this is. It might be a a neutral switch relay. I don't know. I just mess with these when I need to. I don't remember everything about them. All right, so now that we got all of our front lights wired in and all that fun stuff, I want to put the battery in and get the battery box mounted and all of it hooked up so we can check all of our lights. But before we do that, I wanted to make sure you guys got a pretty good close-up view of the entire wiring assortment we have going on under here between the fuse block, the switch panel, and the battery on-off switch. So let's take a look at that. This way, if you guys want to look at it, maybe get some references to anything, that you can see everything that we have. I think I was explaining to you guys that when the switch panels come in, everything is daisy chained. So it's almost like they assume there's going to be inline fuses somewhere else in your install. Like all of your power is fused together. So the blue cord is fine because that actually is just the LED lights on all the switches in the front. The yellow and black here, those are your negatives. The black is the negative for the switch itself, and the yellow is the negative for the lights on the switches. So you could just run those two together if you wanted to. I just went ahead and did them individually. And then I've got a bunch of different power running in and around from different spots here. I'll get something to hold my wires in place up here eventually. I just don't have anything at the moment. Probably get some sticky tabs and zip ties or something like. But I've got all of these switches individually powered now. Okay, so everything runs into our fuse panel, and they all have their own assigned amperaged fuse. So you want to make sure you check into whatever accessory that you're going to run and that you're running the right amped fuse. You've got your ground bus down here. So the way that these fuse panels come in, this is like a $20 or $30 fuse panel off of Amazon, right? And just your standard marine application. You've got a positive side, you've got a negative side. Then all your ground bus is going to be all down here, and then all your positive out. These are all outlets that are coming off the sides. They'll go to wherever your power is going, right? Yeah, okay, so all these big reds going into the center of your switches here are power into your switch. So fuse to switch, from switch out to your accessory, which will be your lower left down here on all of those. So I do have one left open. I haven't wired that yet. So it comes with a cover for everything, and then all these cool little stickers that you can do because I did a custom setup. Now over here I have my battery on-off switch, and this switch is set to have two different battery inputs. So if you had a battery just for the trolling motor, or if you had, for me, I just have one battery in. I don't have a trolling motor, so I'm not going to worry about that. And I upgraded the battery from the jet ski, so I can run all of these accessories just fine without any issue, and we'll still have a good charge from our motor. But you have one output. So I have one output going to my fuse block for all my accessories. That's just this guy. Then I've got one output going to the starter motor on the jet ski itself. So all the power, the power runs from the starter into the control module, then into the harnessing for all the switches and stuff that the jet ski used. So all we have to do is apply power to our starter, and that's going to run power all the way up into everything else we need on that harness side. So we basically have a separation here, but we can cut everything off from the battery supply with this switch right here. So that's pretty cool. I like wiring. It's not for everybody, and I get that. But for us, we're gonna have a nice solid setup here. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and we'll get you all worked out. But for now, we're gonna get everything hidden. So everything's nice and tucked away in there, which this will be kind of difficult to access if we have a problem in real time with any of our lights. Hopefully we won't, but I'm not putting anything in here that I couldn't just take out while I was on the water. So we'll go ahead and get the battery up in here. We'll get our belt run or strap run up under our cross brace there, and we should be able to move on to installing our rear deck here. I guess something else I haven't shown you just yet is also we've got our bilge pump hosing put in place, so it's ready to go. Everything else is looking pretty good, so let's get her knocked out. So far everything's coming together pretty good. We did get all of our battery box wrapped up there. Now, shifting focus to the back deck. Really been wanting to get this thing thrown in there, but I knew I needed to do a couple things before I did that. I didn't want to absolutely restrict access to our motor here. This thing's never been able to run without the choke on, so I thought it was a good opportunity to go ahead and pull the carb off and do a rebuild on it. When I pulled this thing off, I found out that on the other side here, someone had broken off one of the screws. So it's like, all right, I've got another ski up top. We'll go pull that carb out and slap it on this. And it was in pretty good shape. And it's almost the same. So I threw that on here. Did not want to run right. So all right, pulled that off, went ahead and rebuilt that one, put it back on, didn't want to run right. Said, okay, I'll take the old one, I'll rebuild it, I'll put it back on here. It still doesn't want to run right. So I've gone ahead and ordered a new cheapie off eBay. 60 bucks, not too bad. It should be here over the weekend. We'll slap that on here and see if it wants to run right. But something else I noticed is that it started leaking oil from the bottom of the motor, which really isn't a good sign because this is a 2-stroke and it should be burning up with the fuel mostly. You know, it's not like it's got an oil reserve on the bottom of it or anything, so that's concerning. I will end up having to pull this out. I'm going to wait till I get that other carburetor in to make sure it'll do the job and get this thing to run. I might in the meantime check compression, stuff like that, see if there's anything else I can do to troubleshoot this. If worse comes to worse, I'll pull the motor out of the other ski because I know it runs, and I'll put it in here. But I want to get that done before I finish any of the decking back here. I just got more room to work because I did make it pretty tight, and I didn't make my latch lid very large. I should have just gone ahead and brought it all the way out to here, but I didn't do that, which I'm kicking myself for now. But I'm feeling a little defeated. This thing was ripping and it wasn't leaking oil. Now I've had a switch break when it shouldn't have broken. I've had a latch break, like the lever for the throttle brake. I don't know how that happened. And now the motor's giving me issues, so it's like, I guess little gremlins are getting in this thing at night or something. But anyway, I hope you guys have been enjoying the build up until now, and I'll get this resolved and I'll be back with you. Y'all be good. Catch y'all on the next one.